Adams beat 2 murder charges back in January, and police say only 3 days later, he killed his pregnant girlfriend right in front of her toddler. So Adams is now charged with her murder and that of her unborn child, but the defense wants to hide certain evidence from the public, claiming that it might harm Adams's right to a fair trial.
January 27, 2023. A Tampa courtroom erupts as Billy Adams walks out a free man. Double murder charges gone. 2 men dead in a recording studio back in 2020, and he just convinced 12 jurors it was self-defense. He's untouchable. Cameras flash. His family celebrates. Freedom tastes sweet. 3 days later, a 911 call shatters the night in New Tampa. A woman's body lies in the middle of Pictorial Park Drive, blood pooling beneath her. No movement, no pulse. She's been there for hours. And just a few feet away, inside a Ford SUV, a toddler sleeps peacefully in his car seat, completely unaware that his mother will never wake up again. The victim? 22-year-old Alana Sims, 5 months pregnant, a devoted mom who thought she was heading to a party that night, a celebration for her boyfriend's acquittal. He told her they'd be toasting his freedom, his second chance at life. Billy Adams didn't just walk away from one murder trial, he walked straight into another killing. Welcome to True Crime Malice, where we dig into the cases that shake you to your core and demand answers. Before we go any further, drop your city in the comments right now, let us know where you're watching from, hit that like button, and let's get into this nightmare together. Because what happened to Alana Sims isn't just a tragedy, it's a failure, and we need to talk about it. Before we dive into the horror of what happened, you need to know who Alana Sims really was. Because she wasn't just a headline, she wasn't just another statistic, she was a person, a young woman with dreams, a family who loved her, and a future she was building one day at a time. Alana was born on February 13, 2000, right here in Tampa, Florida. By the time she turned 22, she'd already become the kind of mother every child deserves. Her son, just 18 months old at the time of her death, was her entire world. Friends and family say she lit up whenever she talked about him. She was hands-on, devoted, the type of mom who made sure her kid felt loved every single day. Her mother, Shalivi Sims, described her daughter as selfless. She was the best person you could be around, Shalivi said. She wasn't around drama, she stayed to herself, just a real down-to-earth person. Alana's siblings echoed the same sentiment. She was joyful, high-spirited, the kind of person who brought energy into a room just by walking in. She loved being around her nieces, spending time with family, and creating memories that would last. She wasn't out in the streets looking for trouble. She wasn't caught up in anything dangerous. She was just living her life, trying to be the best version of herself. And then she met Billy Adams. Their relationship wasn't plastered all over social media. It wasn't the kind of love story people talk about. But they were together, and somewhere along the way, Alana got pregnant. She believed Billy was the father, and despite whatever complications may have existed between them, she was excited about the future. She was 5 months along when she died. 5 months into carrying a baby girl, a daughter she'd never get to hold, never get to name, never get to watch grow up. Alana was already planning her life as a mother of 2. She was preparing for sleepless nights, diaper changes, and the chaos that comes with raising 2 kids close in age. She was ready for it. She wanted it. Her family says she was glowing. Pregnancy suited her. She talked about her daughter with the same love and excitement she had for her son. She was building something, a family, a life, a future, and she had every reason to believe that future was just beginning. On the night of January 30, 2023, Alana thought she was heading to a party. Billy had just been acquitted of double murder charges 3 days earlier, and she believed they were going to celebrate. Maybe she thought this was a turning point for them. Maybe she thought things were finally going to settle down. Maybe she was just happy to see him walk free and wanted to be there for him. She had no idea what was waiting for her. She got in her car, buckled her son into his car seat, and drove to the Eastern Park subdivision in New Tampa, a neighborhood she wasn't familiar with, a place she had no reason to be. She trusted the person who told her to meet him there. She trusted the man she thought was the father of her unborn child. And that trust cost her everything. Now let's talk about Billy Adams. On the surface, he looked like someone who had it together. He went by the stage name Ace NH and was trying to make it as a rapper in Tampa's underground hip-hop scene. He wasn't a household name, but he had a following. He had dreams of making it big, of turning his music into something real. And here's the kicker. Billy wasn't just some street kid with no options. He graduated from the University of South Florida with a bachelor's degree in management. He had education, he had opportunities, he had a path forward that didn't involve violence. But according to investigators, Billy was also allegedly tied to gang activity. And that's where things get dark. Because in November 2020, Billy Adams booked a session at a makeshift recording studio in Lutz, Florida. It was the kind of spot where local artists would lay down tracks, nothing fancy, just a converted space where people came to work on their craft. The owner, a guy named Joseph Meeks, ran the place and had seen plenty of artists come through. But on that particular day, something went horribly wrong. Two men showed up at the studio, Trevon Alberry and Daniel Thompson, and by the end of the night both of them were dead. Billy Adams was the one holding the gun. Joseph Meeks, the studio owner, was there when it happened. He testified later that he was facing his computer when he heard two gunshots.
I was facing my computer and I heard two gunshots.
What did you see?
Basically, all I seen was the people not moving and Adam standing there with a gun.
So what was Billy's explanation? Self-defense. He claimed he overheard Alberry and Thompson talking about robbing Meeks. He said he saw Alberry pull a gun, and in that moment, he made a split-second decision. He shot them both to protect himself and the studio owner.
I pulled out my gun and I shot Mr. Alberry in fear of Mr. Meeks being shot or myself being shot.
Two men dead, and Billy walked out of that studio claiming he had no choice. Prosecutors didn't buy it. They charged him with first-degree murder and burglary. They painted him as a cold-blooded killer, someone who took two lives without hesitation. They argued this wasn't self-defense, it was execution. But Billy had a different story, and he was willing to bet his life on it. When the case went to trial, Billy took the stand. That's a risky move. Most defense attorneys will tell their clients to stay quiet, let the lawyers do the talking. But Billy testified in his own defense. He looked the jury in the eyes and told them he was in fear for his life. He said Alberry and Thompson were dangerous, that they were about to commit a violent robbery, and that he had to act. And somehow the jury believed him. On January 27, 2023, after days of testimony and deliberation, the verdict came down.
State of Florida versus Billy Adams III.
Billy Adams would hear the jury's verdict on murder charges. On count 1,
The defendant is not guilty.
on count 2,
The defendant is not guilty.
Billy Adams walked out of that courtroom a free man. The double murder charges, gone. The burglary charges dismissed. He beat the case. His family celebrated. His supporters cheered. He was untouchable. But freedom came with a price. Shortly after his release, Billy claimed he and his family started receiving death threats. Text messages rolled in, vicious and direct. Your whole family's gonna die. We want you first, then your brothers, then your parents. I want the whole clip dumped into your head. The threats were relentless. Billy's attorney went back to court, arguing that his client was now a target. They said he needed protection, that his bond conditions should be modified so he could move freely and keep himself and his family safe. And the judge agreed. Billy Adams, a man who had just been acquitted of killing two people, was now being treated like the victim. He was given more freedom, more flexibility, all in the name of protecting him from retaliation. Think about that for a second. A man walks out of a double murder trial, claims people are after him, and the system bends to accommodate him. He's the one who gets protection, he's the one who gets sympathy. But 3 days later, it wasn't Billy who was in danger. It was Alana. 3 days after walking out of that courtroom, after convincing a jury he killed in self-defense, after claiming he was the one being hunted, Billy Adams allegedly lured his pregnant girlfriend to a quiet street in New Tampa, and shot her dead. The man who said he feared for his life became the very thing he claimed to be running from. A killer. January 3, 2023, New Tampa, Eastern Park Subdivision, 10,700 block of Pictorial Park Drive. It's a quiet residential area, the kind of place where families live, where kids ride bikes in the street, where nothing bad is supposed to happen. Most people who live there have never heard a gunshot. They've never seen crime scene tape stretched across their neighborhood. But on this night, everything changed. Alana Sims got ready that evening thinking she was about to have a good time. Billy had just beaten a double murder case 3 days earlier, and she believed they were going to celebrate. Maybe there'd be music, friends, drinks, a chance to finally relax after all the stress of the trial. She was excited. She wanted to be there for him. She bundled up her 18-month-old son, strapped him into his car seat in the back of her Ford EcoSport SUV, and headed out. She didn't tell her family exactly where she was going. She didn't think she needed to. It was supposed to be a party. It was supposed to be safe. But there was no party. Billy Adams lured her to that street, a location she didn't know, a neighborhood she had no reason to be in. No friends waiting, no celebration, just him. In a gun. Around 10 p.m. a passerby noticed something strange. A woman lying in the middle of the road, motionless. They called 911 immediately. When Tampa police arrived at the scene, they found Alana Sims on the pavement next to her SUV. She had suffered severe upper body trauma, gunshot wounds that left no chance of survival. Blood pooled beneath her. Her eyes were open, staring at nothing. She'd been there for a while. Long enough for her body to grow cold. Long enough for rigor mortis to begin setting in. And just a few feet away, inside the SUV, her son was still strapped into his car seat. Asleep. Completely unharmed. Let that sink in for a moment. This baby boy, not even 2 years old, was in the car when his mother was murdered. He was right there. He may have heard the gunshots. He may have cried out for her. Or maybe he slept through the whole thing, blissfully unaware that the person who loved him most in this world was gone. When officers opened the car door and found him, he was peaceful, breathing softly, dreaming maybe. He had no idea that when he woke up, his life would be completely different. No idea that his mother would never pick him up again, never sing to him again, never tuck him into bed again. He woke up without a mother. Detectives immediately knew this wasn't random. This wasn't a robbery gone wrong or a carjacking. Alana's purse was still in the car. Her phone was there. Nothing was stolen. This was personal. This was targeted. Someone who knew her brought her to that street and killed her in cold blood. But who? Alana's family was blindsided. Her sister spoke to the media, voice shaking, trying to make sense of what happened.
Easy thing to process, so we don't really know why she was in that area. Didn't deserve for this to happen to her.
They didn't recognize the neighborhood. Alana had no connections there, no friends who lived nearby, so why was she there? Who convinced her to drive to that spot? And why would anyone want to hurt her? The answers would come soon enough. But in those first hours, all her family could do was grieve. Alana was supposed to turn 23 in just 2 weeks. She was supposed to give birth to her daughter in a few months. Instead, she was lying on a cold street in a neighborhood she didn't know, her life stolen by someone she trusted. Her mother, Shalavi Sims, was devastated. She was very selfless, she told reporters through tears. She had one of the biggest hearts ever. She would do anything for anybody that she loved and cared about, and she loved her son. She adored him. Now that little boy would grow up without her. He'd see pictures, hear stories, but he'd never really know the woman who gave him life. He'd never remember her voice, her laugh, the way she held him when he was scared, all because someone decided fatherhood was too inconvenient. Pause for a second. If you were the detective on this case, what would be your first move? A pregnant woman, murdered in a quiet neighborhood she had no ties to, her toddler left alive in the car. What's your theory? Drop it in the comments right now. And hit that like button if you're as hooked on this case as we are, because what happens next is going to blow your mind. The moment Tampa police detectives arrived at that scene, they knew they were dealing with something calculated. This wasn't a random act of violence. Alana Sims was brought to that location for a reason, and whoever did it knew exactly what they were doing. Detectives started working backwards, tracing Alana's last hours. Who did she talk to? Where was she going? Who knew she'd be on that street? And one name kept coming up: Billy Adams. Detectives brought him in for questioning. At first, Billy played it cool. He acted confused, concerned even. He denied everything. "I was home all day," he told them. "I never went to that area. I don't know what happened to her." He stuck to that story, firm, confident, like a man who had nothing to hide. But detectives weren't convinced. They pressed him. They asked about his relationship with Alana, about the pregnancy, about where he was the night she died. And that's when Billy decided to back up his story with proof. He pulled out his phone and showed them video footage. There he was, hanging out with friends at a place called The Villas on January 30. The exact night Alana was killed. The timestamp was right there on the screen. The location was embedded in the video. It seemed airtight, except it wasn't. Detectives took that video and ran it through their forensic team. And guess what they found? The video wasn't recorded on January 30. It was recorded on February 1, 2 days after Alana's murder. And the metadata had been altered to make it look like it was filmed on the night of the killing in a completely different location. Billy Adams had tried to fabricate an alibi, and he got caught. Now detectives had a liar on their hands. And liars, as any investigator will tell you, usually have something to hide. They dug deeper. They pulled traffic camera footage from the area around Pictorial Park Drive, and there it was. Billy's vehicle driving near the crime scene around the time Alana was killed. Then they searched his car. Inside they found 2 live ammunition rounds, the same caliber used to kill Alana Sims. The walls were closing in. Detectives brought Billy back in and laid it all out in front of him. The fake alibi, the video evidence, the ammunition, the timeline. Everything pointed to him. And that's when his story started to change. Now, Billy admitted he was there. He admitted he met Alana at the Eastern Park subdivision that night. But he had a new explanation. Self-defense. Sound familiar? Billy claimed that Alana pulled a gun on him. He said they wrestled over it, and in the struggle he shot her. It was an accident, he insisted. He was just trying to protect himself. Detectives asked him to demonstrate how it happened. "Show us," they said. "Walk us through it." He couldn't. His story didn't add up. The angles were wrong. The logistics didn't make sense. So Billy changed his version again. This time, he said Alana pulled a gun on him, and he was able to wrestle it away from her. Then, with the gun in his hand, he shot her in the head. But here's the problem. If he already had control of the weapon, if the threat was neutralized, why did he pull the trigger? Why did he shoot a pregnant woman in the head while her toddler sat in the back seat? Detectives weren't buying it. They pushed harder. They wanted the real reason, the truth. And finally, Billy Adams cracked. He admitted it. He didn't want to be in her life anymore. He wasn't ready to have a child. Alana was 5 months pregnant, and the reality of fatherhood was closing in on him. So, he made a choice. He lured her to that street, under the pretense of a celebration. He told her they were going to a party, that they'd be toasting his freedom. She trusted him. She got in her car, brought their son along, and drove to meet him. And when she arrived, he shot her. He left her body lying in the street, he left their son strapped in his car seat alone with his dead mother, and then he drove away like nothing happened. 9 days later, on February 8, 2023, Billy Adams was arrested and charged with first-degree murder and killing of an unborn child by injury to the mother. Tampa Police Interim Chief Lee Burkaw didn't mince words. Mere days after he was acquitted of a separate crime, our homicide suspect did the unthinkable when he killed an innocent woman and her unborn child. I hope this arrest brings some closure to the victim's family who is mourning the loss of two loved ones. We are working with the state attorney's office to ensure the suspect is prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. State Attorney Susan S. Lopez was equally blunt. What this defendant did is unimaginable. Our thoughts and support are with the family members of these crime victims. Since the night of the murders, we have worked closely with Tampa Police Department to arrest this killer. While we respect the verdict of the jury in the prior case, we disagreed with it, and that is why we prosecuted him. We will continue to work with Tampa Police Department to prosecute him for these latest crimes. Billy Adams was denied bond, no surprise there. A man accused of killing his pregnant girlfriend days after beating a double murder charge isn't walking out of jail anytime soon. He'd be sitting behind bars until his trial, wearing a red jumpsuit and handcuffs every time he appeared in court. But his legal team wasn't going down without a fight. Almost immediately, his defense attorneys filed motions arguing that Billy couldn't get a fair trial. They pointed to the media frenzy surrounding the case, the press conferences, the news coverage, the public outrage. They claimed the Tampa Police Department had released prejudicial information during their February 8 announcement, including details from Billy's interrogation that should have remained confidential. His lawyers requested a complete gag order to stop anyone involved in the case from talking to the media. They also asked for a temporary protective order to keep evidence from being released to the public until a jury was seated. The judge didn't grant everything they wanted, but he did issue a temporary protective order. Any evidence turned over during discovery would be withheld from the public for 30 days, giving the defense time to review it and argue whether it should remain sealed. Then came an interesting twist. Billy Adams initially demanded a speedy trial. He wrote to the court himself, stating, "I do not consent to the waiver of my speedy trial right." He wanted his day in court, and he wanted it fast. But days later, he changed his mind. Legal experts say that was the smartest decision he's made since his arrest. A speedy trial sounds good in theory, but in a case this complex with this much evidence, rushing to trial would be suicide. His defense team needed time to comb through witness statements, forensic reports, video footage, and jailhouse call recordings. Going to trial unprepared would be handing prosecutors a conviction on a silver platter. And speaking of prosecutors, they weren't holding back. The Hillsborough County State Attorney's Office announced they were seeking the death penalty. Billy Adams was now fighting for his life, literally. But here's where things get complicated. Florida had just changed its death penalty law. For years, the state required a unanimous jury vote to recommend execution. All 12 jurors had to agree. But in 2023, in direct response to the Parkland school shooter's jury sparing his life, Florida lowered the threshold to 8-4. That means only 8 out of 12 jurors need to vote for death. Even if 4 jurors believe life in prison is more appropriate, a judge can still impose a death sentence. Billy's defense team immediately challenged this. They argued that applying the new law to his case would be unconstitutional, an ex post facto law that retroactively increases his chances of being executed. When Billy was arrested, the law still required unanimity. Changing the rules mid-case, they said, violated his constitutional rights. Prosecutors fired back, arguing the change was procedural, not substantive. The punishment, death or life in prison, remained the same, only the process had changed. Hillsborough Circuit Judge Mark Kaiser sided with the prosecution. He ruled that the 8-4 standard would apply to Billy Adams' case. That decision has massive implications. If convicted, Billy could be sentenced to death, even if a third of the jury votes to spare his life. His fate now rests on convincing just 5 jurors that he deserves to live. The case is set to go to trial, and the outcome could set a precedent for death penalty cases across Florida. Other judges have ruled differently on this issue, and legal experts believe the Florida Supreme Court will eventually have to settle the question once and for all. But for now, Billy Adams sits in a jail cell, knowing that if 12 people find him guilty, Only 8 of them need to agree he should die. The stakes couldn't be higher. Alana's family was shattered. The community was outraged. How did this happen? How did Billy Adams walk out of a double murder trial on January 27 and kill again on January 30? 3 days. That's all it took. 3 days of freedom, and another woman was dead. People started asking the hard questions. Could this have been prevented? Were there warning signs? Should someone have been watching him more closely? Because here's the thing, acquittal doesn't mean innocence. It means the prosecution didn't prove their case beyond a reasonable doubt. It means the jury believed Billy's self-defense claim in the 2020 double murder, but it doesn't mean he wasn't dangerous. Billy Adams had a history of violence. He'd been involved in a shooting that left 2 men dead. He'd been tied to alleged gang activity. And yet, after his acquittal, he walked free with no monitoring, no intervention, no system in place to ensure he wouldn't hurt anyone else. And 3 days later, Alana Sims paid the price. So what can we learn from this tragedy? How do we prevent the next Alana from becoming a victim? First, trust your instincts. If someone has a history of violence, take it seriously. It doesn't matter if they've been acquitted, if they claim they've changed, or if they swear it was all a misunderstanding. Violence has a pattern, and people who've killed before are statistically more likely to kill again. Second, support systems matter. Alana's family didn't know she was in danger. They didn't know the full extent of her relationship with Billy. They didn't know she was meeting him that night. Communication and awareness can save lives. If you're worried about someone, speak up. If someone you love is in a relationship that feels off, ask questions. Don't wait until it's too late. Third, the justice system needs to do better. High-risk individuals, especially those acquitted of violent crimes, should be monitored. There should be check-ins, counseling, intervention programs. Acquittal shouldn't mean complete freedom when there's a clear pattern of danger. And finally, speak up. If you see something, say something. Neighbors, friends, family members, everyone has a role to play. If you notice someone in a dangerous relationship, if you hear threats, if something feels wrong, don't stay silent. Your voice could be the difference between life and death. Billy Adams is still awaiting trial. The death penalty hangs over his head. Prosecutors are pushing for the ultimate punishment, and with Florida's new 8-4 jury rule, his chances of execution have increased. But no matter what happens in that courtroom, it won't bring Alana back. It won't give her son his mother. It won't undo the pain her family feels every single day. Alana Sims was 22 years old. She was a mother, a daughter, a sister, a friend. She was excited about her future. She was preparing to welcome her baby girl into the world. She had dreams, plans, a life she was building one day at a time. She deserved to live. Behind every headline is a real person, a family torn apart, a child who will never know his mother, a community left asking how this could have happened. Let's honor Alana by learning from her story, by protecting the vulnerable, by demanding better from our justice system, by refusing to let her death be just another statistic. Rest in peace, Alana Sims. Your story will not be forgotten. Now it's your turn. What do you think should happen to Billy Adams? Should he get the death penalty or life in prison? Drop your thoughts in the comments. And if this case made you think twice about the people in your life, share this video. You never know who might need to see it. Don't forget to subscribe to True Crime Malice. We're bringing you the stories that matter, the ones that make you think, and the ones that demand justice. Hit that notification bell so you never miss an episode. We'll see you in the next one.